We'll call the meeting to order. It's date, time, and location were properly announced. Thank you everyone for coming. It's nice to see people. I'm so excited. Because we really didn't see you if you were online. Mike did, and Lee did, and maybe Kim, but we didn't. So it's good to see everybody. So let's see, what are we starting off with tonight? We're going to take a minute, have a cupcake or two, and thank Jennifer for her service of how many years? 18. And then we will also welcome Chris, who's here in the front row, and welcome back Matt. So we'll take a few minutes and we'll do that. Cupcakes we have around the corner, so feel free to help yourself.
Thank you, Jen. I don't know how we do policy without you, I tell you.
Public knowledge, I did offer to Mike
session, and so now we will administer the oath of office to Chris and Matt, and I guess that's what we'll do. So you guys stand up and raise your right hand, and just repeat after me. Oh, now I can see there's words on here. I, and state your name, please.
I, Rachel,
Having been elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Random Lake,
having been elected to the Board of Education of the School District of Random Lake,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability, so help me God.
You're in. All right. Next, we have the election of the officers, and Kim provided us with some very pretty ballots. I do too, very nice. So we will open nominations for the office of president. Are there any nominations? Yes, we
Nominate you.
thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I need to ask again, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? All right, we will close nominations, and if you could write on your salmon. And Matt, will you collect those?
Yeah, okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Those are very nice.
Yeah. Fancy, fancy.
We have 6 votes for Gina.
All right, thank you. Here we go again, guys. All right, let's go with vice president. We will open nominations for vice president. Are there any nominations?
I'll nominate Matt Schoeneman.
Thank you.
I'll second the nomination.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for vice president? All right. And we are using our yellow or canary. Let me get fancy.
Look at you, salmon, canary.
And, and I have 6 for Matt. Congratulations. All right, treasurer is next. I will open nominations for treasurer. Is there a nomination for treasurer?
I nominate Brian.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other nominations? Are there any other nominations for treasurer? All right. And our blue. You just can't count your own.
Wonder if he thought being absent was gonna help him.
Yeah, we should have signed him up for all of them.
Yeah.
Agenda item, right?
Yeah. He is excused, just so everybody knows.
6 votes for Brian.
Great. He'll love us at annual meeting time. All right, we will open nominations for clerk. Are there any nominations for clerk?
Nominate Amy. I'll second that.
Thank you, thank you. Are there any other nominations for clerk? One more time, any other nominations for clerk? All right, we'll close nominations. Let's go.
It's okay.
I should know better.
It still counts as long as it counts.
Then we got 6 for Amy.
Great, congratulations, and thank you. All right, so we are there. Next, we will approve the minutes of the regular meeting, March 15th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve? Rainey, is there a second?
I'll second.
Matt, any questions or corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the amount for February, $725,625.23?
So move.
Matt, is there a second?
I'll second.
Chuck, any questions or discussion?
Wait, you said February?
No,
Uh,
I missed that, it's March.
It is March, all right.
And it's a different amount.
Oh, it is,
Look on
okay.
the bottom there.
1 million.
Oh,
1
so we're,
million.
all right, scratch that, let's throw that one out. So we need a motion to approve March in the amount of $1,022,343.50.
So moved.
Matt, is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
Jeff, thank you. And now, are there any questions or
So-
discussion?
This is higher because of the bonus checks?
Overload
Would those
checks.
have fallen in to that?
That was the second payroll in
Okay.
there, yeah. And there was just other bills due this time, so.
Which it seems to fluctuate like every other month. You're
Yep.
probably about 200 grand higher.
Yep.
Or we are.
And I think Patty does a really nice job of knowing when we're getting revenue in and when to pay things, using our 30 days if we have it, so that'll fluctuate here, but it's also a reason we don't have to do any short-term borrowing and just kind of knowing the cadence of how it works, so it's been.
Okay. Any other questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And the cash summary?
Just because I heard them bumping around on the roof today, I just thought I'd bring everyone's attention to the solar rooftop rental. You know, now that it's actually getting sunny outside and seeing this, you know, just one of those, you know, $1,450 a month for just using the sun. So being green and being financially green. So I didn't have any other questions. I heard them bumping around today as I was looking at it. I thought I'd highlight that. So just another one of the things that we're doing here.
Great. Any questions on the cash summary? All right. Then we have notification of donation.
You may have seen it driving around now. We got Officer Tross, and you'll see the Random Lake Community Officer, the police car driving around. We do have an anonymous donor that has paid for the vehicle and the wrap, and just so excited about having this resource in our community, not just for the school, of course, in the school, but also we got out last week to Career Foods, doing some safety checks and some other things. So Todd's been fantastic. I will bring him to the next board meeting because I don't think he's been here yet.
No.
So make sure we'll have him here next meeting. He and I are going to the village board meeting the next week. Now that he kind of knows names, we'll get him out, and Mr. Tross has been fantastic. So very lucky to have him, and looking forward to all the great things he helps our staff with, he helps our students with, and helps the community with. So, but thank you to the anonymous donor for making it even easier for his job.
All right, next we need to appoint a member to the 2021 CISA convention. Is this new? Board of Control?
Being part of the Cooperative Education Service
Oh, this
area.
is the one that's in
Yeah.
Green Bay.
It's the Green Bay
Okay.
CISA 7.
So yeah, we have been doing that
Yep.
forever. So is this going to be a virtual one? Do we know?
No, they, well,
I don't know.
I think they're trying to do it in person.
'Cause that's just a
But they were
couple
gonna
weeks.
send out more information to the person who is appointed.
Is there anyone that would like to volunteer to attend, that CISA?
I volunteer Brian.
All right, there's
we
a
need a
motion to, appoint Brian to the May 12th, 2021 CISA in Green Bay meeting. Is there a second? Matt? Was that a first or second?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? I do believe he volunteered last year.
He
so.
did, yeah. It's just funnier this way.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to deal with him on my own time.
Yeah.
All those,
Last year's was virtual, right? I went the year before, I think,
And I have a feeling it'll be a hybrid type,
Yeah.
there's, attendance is going so well in some of these virtual meetings that having a dual mode would be
Oh,
good,
yeah.
so.
all right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Again, we need to appoint, this time, two people, a delegate and an alternate to the 2022 WASB convention, which has been held in Milwaukee. And it's a Wednesday afternoon that you go and listen to potential legislation items and vote whether you think we should support it or not, to send lobbyists to Madison. So do we have anybody that would be interested in being the delegate or the alternate?
I would be willing to take an opportunity to learn that.
Great. All right, Chuck, for the delegate, anybody want to back him up in case he can't make it? Matt? All right, great.
Since it's your first one, I'll offer to go with you too, I'll be your wingman for that, otherwise,
Be great.
okay.
Sure.
I'll put it down and.
Is there a motion? Rainey? Is there a second? Thanks, Chris. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that takes us to the comments from the public, and we do it differently than we have in years past. I mean, it's not different last year, but it's still different for me.
So, I do have 3 emails,
Okay,
and I was gonna address the emails first, and then anyone else here can talk into the microphone.
okay,
So I just wanted to, I got 3 emails about scholarship night, and some parent, some community, a community member, and 2 parents that have been asking what that's gonna look like. So, in the letters I got was about parents attending. I'll talk more about this when we get to the COVID update that we do on the number 14. But I can say to that group, parents are gonna be invited. We have some things that we've had to tweak since last month that we're going to do to make sure parents are involved. So we'll talk more about what that's gonna look like, but scholarship night is gonna include parents, and that's what those $3 were about.
about excluding
Well,
parents or
excluding parents and
having
the importance of
watch it,
having parents there, so,
record it, so
so yeah.
they'll be there live,
yes,
okay,
so,
in person,
yeah.
okay.
So we do, if we wanna keep it on subject, we do have 2 others that have signed up to talk about scholarship night, so if they'd like to talk,
Okay,
we have Lena and Kathy.
all right, Lena and or Kathy?
I'm
Lina,
sorry, Lina.
sorry,
That's okay.
I should know
You
that.
basically answered that as long, I just wanted to say that it should be in person.
Mhm.
Your kids deserve the recognition.
I'll explain a little bit more. We're a couple items away what it's going to look like and some of the dance that go into it, but we are going to be, and parents and students will be part of what that's going to look like.
And just so you know that, the comments from the public, we don't generally comment on, so, that's why he's saying he'll give you more in the agenda, because it is on the agenda to discuss it. We're not trying to avoid anybody, but these are rules that we follow. I don't know if they make sense or not.
People smarter than us
Right.
tell us to do it
That's
this way,
right.
yes.
All right, so then you do have,
Mask?
yes, mask. We have 3 on mask. Katie
Peter?
and Amy and Chrissy. So, whoever.
Can we stay here and talk? Can you
Oh.
hear me well enough?
Oh, Ella, I don't know.
The mic is not really picking you up.
Alright, which
Sorry.
one are we supposed to stand?
Right, you can stand right by the mic here.
And face
You can have your back to the camera, but that, yeah. But they'll be able to hear you at least.
Pretend it's a classroom.
Yeah, nobody stands behind me in the classroom with a camera. All right, my name is Katie Beekler. I'm here to encourage you to allow students and their parents to choose whether they wish to continue masking and distancing in school, rather than having the school district continue to mandate it for all, even though the state order is no longer in effect. As I discussed at a meeting here last fall, COVID-19 has not been shown to be very dangerous to students and young people in general. And now, in addition to that, teachers and staff who wish to be vaccinated have had the opportunity to do so since about March 1st. Those vaccines have proven to be remarkably effective, with relative risk reductions around 95%. Next, there's no reason to continue mandating masking and distancing in our schools. The risks masking poses to our mental and physical health, and more importantly to that of our children, are real and substantial and must be considered and weighed against the benefits of continuing this policy. A partial list of those physiological and psychological impacts includes compromised cognitive function, increased respiration and heart rate, more easily triggered fight and flight response, an increase in the release of stress hormones, suppression of immune response, increased muscle tension, and increased depression, anxiety, and loneliness, which leads to higher incidence of suicidal thoughts. People are meant to see each other. People are meant to see other people. We're meant to communicate by smiling and laughing with each other. Let our kids see each other smiling and laughing. Let them have the full benefit of hearing and seeing their teachers as they communicate with the class. I know that the idea of masking came out of good intentions, but it's clear that the unintended consequences are real and scary, and it's time to let our kids live without this cloud of fear and isolation that we've placed over them. Somewhat unrelated, I'd like to request also that the changes made by the administration to the junior class prom court selection process be addressed by this board. Thanks for considering my comments this evening.
Thank you.
Can we ask a question and make a comment? Are we allowed to do that?
And clarifying, if you have
Clarifying, if
clarification.
we could ask the speaker to just express her experience in her education, so in case the public doesn't know her background and who she's
Sure.
talking about.
Sure.
Is that allowed?
Sure.
Sure, thanks, Chuck. So I'm a professor of biochemistry and chemistry at Concordia University, Wisconsin. I have a fair amount of familiarity with the idea of immune response and how vaccines work and how overall viruses might move through the population. So I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has about that as you guys continue to make decisions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Amy? There you are.
I guess I'm here to ask you to keep the mask mandate in place. First of all, we have 5 weeks left in the semester, in the year. Why not start fresh next year? Secondly, there's no guarantee that kids aren't going to transmit it one to the other. I know we've been vaccinated, but there's also been cases of people getting COVID, even if they are vaccinated. And finally, I would worry about the liability that the school district would take on. You have to consider that as well. That's all.
Thank you. Chrissy?
Hi, Chrissy Harris, I have a son in the high school. I just ask that you come up with a definite plan of your mask mandate. I fear if it stays, it's going to go through summer school and it's going to be right back where we are in fall. So I would love it to be over yesterday and be optional, but at least pick a date. The school district I work at is going to do an action plan on Wednesday. Oostburg has picked a date in June when we're done. It's going to move forward. So I'm asking this board to make a plan, share with the parents, and get the things off the floor and the signage and the masks are optional and get our kids back to where they need to be. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And did everyone speak that wanted to speak? I think we got everybody on the list, so. All right, well, thank you. We will move on to building reports. And you two are here. Woo!
All right, as far as the category of strong classrooms, just wanted to point out as a refresher, a reminder to the board that the emphasis this year has been on teaching power standards. The board has selected the Wisconsin Model Academic Standards for the majority of the content areas that we provide. And it is physically and mentally and virtually this year impossible to teach all of those standards. So our K-12 teams have worked very, very diligently to pick what we believe are the power standards in a proper scope and sequence in each one of our core content areas. And just last Wednesday, we had another opportunity to meet as a K-12 team and look at those vertical standards, our power standards that we have selected. It is spring diagnostic season. Our last exact path is open. So students will be getting their end of year diagnostic scores. And this is the main tool that we use in-house for determining growth. So we're very excited to see the scores. They had gone up quite high from the beginning of the year to January. So we're looking at that upward trend continuing.
And on that note too, we've just finished Wisconsin Forward.
I'll finish tomorrow.
Yep. So we're just doing makeups at this time, but the high school is fully finished as well as the middle school, except for makeup. So
And that's all I have left at the elementary is the apps.
So we're excited about that. Looking forward to our results. Summer school registration is underway. So that's been being communicated out via summer school newsletter. So lots of different course offerings this year. So we're very excited about that. So if you haven't seen anything, look forward in the newsletter. Miriam Levitt sends it out weekly about summer school registration. Registration is online, so go ahead and take a look at what we have to offer for this summer. And then also for middle school and high school, we've got the master scheduling underway. So that's where we start to take a look at our courses, how many sections we need, and start the big puzzling map that we utilize Infinite Campus to start putting that together. So working with the counselors at each level, so Julie Hausner and Pam Rogers, and we'll be working through that now, starting now through summer.
And as far as strong culture is concerned, first off, hats off to all the staff, students, and everybody who's tried to work through all that we've been through for the past year. The culture in this school district was not lost. And we continue to do things like we used to. For example, even though it has a different name, we used to do jump rope for heart, and it's now called the Heart Healthy Challenge. And I am back to my shenanigans again. If 150 students take the Heart Healthy Challenge, my hair gets dyed blue. As of today, we are at 96 students who have taken the challenge. The deadline for them to commit to the challenge, and they only have to commit for a day. I think my hair is going to be blue for longer than that, is May 7th. We tried to emphasize the heart healthiness of the challenge this year rather than the fundraising aspect, which was more of the jump rope for heart. However, our go-getters have already raised over $5,000. So that's pretty outstanding, and it really does look like my hair is going to be blue. Another informational kind of reminder, one of the focuses that we have done this year is to have Mindful Mondays. You may have heard the term mindfulness. being aware of your surroundings, how you're feeling, how you're reacting to feeling, whole social emotional learning spectrum. And Mrs. Harrigan, from her home, from her office, from the classroom, from the playground, has provided us with weekly Mindful Monday videos that the students have watched, and they correlate with what she does in her character education program.
So next, just wanted to let you know that Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up the first week of May. So just something we wanted to get out there. Sandy and I and Mike were planning different activities and things for the teachers, so I want to let everyone know that it is Teacher Appreciation Week that first week in May. And then middle school student of the quarter recognition. So we do recognition each quarter. And this last quarter, we did have the students together in the auditorium. We did it 5th and 6th grade one time, and then 7th and 8th grade another time to recognize our student of the quarter. And it really was a nice celebration there. And we share the pictures in our newsletter as well. So if you get the middle school newsletter, you would have seen them come out this last week.
With regards to strong community connections, Severe Weather Awareness Week was a couple of weeks ago. And we had Drew Burgoyne from Channel 58 out in Milwaukee come and do he was virtual. He did a virtual assembly for the elementary students, and he had sent materials ahead of time that the students watched. He had sent some material for the students to work on. So by the time the students were able to meet with Mr. Burgoyne, it was about a 45-minute question and answer, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience to hear the great questions that kids had about severe weather preparedness.
I didn't get this one on there, but I do want to give a shout out to Natalie Weeks. She had organized a fantastic conservation fair. I don't know if you were able to get out to it on Saturday, but it really was a lovely event. And we had approximately about 300 people come through throughout the day. So really a nice event. So looking forward to next year and what she can put together. So Natalie Weeks did that wonderful event. Distinguished alumni recipients. So we pulled together our committee, and I want to thank Gina for being on the committee as well as Gary. And then we had two other community members, Joanne Turnus and Peter Bemis, that were a part of our committee. And I would say we had some wonderful applicants that we looked at, and we decided upon two recipients that were both in the medical fields this year. We just felt like it was very fitting to honor those two candidates. So Mary Schuler and Mark Miller. Mary Schuler has a background as an oncologist nurse and has done a wide variety of things in her vast career, as well as Mark Miller, who is a microbiologist by his background and worked with the National Institute of Health as well. So both various careers, but very distinguished. So we're excited about them being our recipients for this school year. Mary Schuler will be joining us for the graduation ceremony as well.
Nice.
And then last, our student recognitions that I want to put out there. So we had our FBLA state competition. It was a virtual competition. And Elena Turnus, she placed 9th in Intro to Business, so well done to Elena. And then Olivia Everett, she placed 2nd in Spreadsheet Applications, and she is our first student in Random Lake history to make it to the national conference. So that's going to be coming up this summer, so very exciting for her. Well done to both of those ladies.
Great. Thank you. Any questions?
Hi, Neil. I'm wondering about with the scheduling that's underway in the middle school and the high school. I received, I heard some concerns about how that impacts some of the classes. AP, if you're taking an AP class in the fall and testing isn't until spring. Math, having a gap in not taking math for a semester, and also how it impacts our band and music programs. And I don't know if any schedules have been generated yet, but are kids able or students able to participate in those, have time in their schedule? Have you heard concerns about that? Well, all of those concern me, so I just wondered.
Yeah, and those questions have definitely come up. have talked through that as a building leadership team, as well as with all of the AP teachers. So what the AP teachers have put into place right now is that since let's say their class occurred first and second quarter, they have been given out different tutorials, things to keep the skills up. I know Mr. Hatfield as well as Mr. Wilferdink with the science and the math, they have been giving ongoing video lessons as well to the kids throughout the school year. So that way they want to keep their skills up. Right now, Mr. Hatfield had a tutorial session in-house Sunday night. He's going to be having another one coming up right before his exam as well. And so is Mr. DeGrue. So they're all doing different things to provide the information for the students. Whether or not the students do them, I think probably most of them are looking at the materials and things like that, but they are definitely trying to provide different tutorials and things like that to help keep their skills up leading up to those exams. And that's something that we were really trying to do placement with. All of the math classes were quarter 2 and 3, so that way they could get through their entire curriculum prior to the exam, because in previous years they haven't been able to get through their entire curriculum. And that was the one overwhelming benefit that all the teachers had talked about. But we do definitely see that there are some disadvantages as well. And so next year we've already talked about ideas, all depending where classes might fall, having AR boot camps ongoing throughout the year, because we've learned some lessons as well to really keep those skills going.
And what about the impact on the music program?
The music program, for looking through next year, is that both of the musics would like to do meet every day like they did this year. The impact this year was during AR time, and we're not looking to do that again. So academic resource is going to be academic resource for all.
Can you explain that? What do you mean the impact was during the AR time?
Because one of our choir classes occurred during academic resource this school year, but that's not going to be the plan moving forward.
Okay, so it will change for next year then?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about the AP classes as well. So if a student can't get in their AP class that they are hoping to get in, and they've kind of planned it all along, but, wasn't able to be, filled in their schedule because of, the changes, what is the other option? Is there another option for like an LTC class or some, way, because I know we've had some students in the past take LTC or other, education, that way to fill in those gaps?
Every year, it just wasn't a this year thing where students might have to make choices, because all of the AP classes are singleton. And so that's always a problem when it comes with scheduling, is that singleton, sometimes kids have to choose. However, with that,
A singleton, by the way, means it's only offered once,
Once.
one period.
one period, one class, there's not enough for like multiple offerings of it. But I do have to say, Julie Hausner works very hard at making sure students are getting what they need. If we can't get them into the class, she works very hard to make sure how they can receive that class through another option.
And I would just add,
So
with
that's the benefit of the small school, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And one of the things about the schedule, especially for this year, when we started going through different mitigation strategies and decided to go with the full block, Julie and Susan got together and did in a week's time what is usually 2 months. So that there were a few overlaps. I'm sure there is, but now going into next year, keeping the same schedule for 1 more year, a lot more planning. In a small school, we're gonna have some singletons that are gonna overlap, but with our partnerships with LTC, with the things we're doing with Inspire, with co-ops and working in the community, other things and other course offerings, I think next year our students are gonna have more choices. That we're finding ways, even in a declining enrollment, to give our students more and more choices to fill those gaps that are just as impactful, so.
But are they getting more choices but less opportunities in their schedule to actually go to those classes? Because if they're taking less classes per semester, doesn't that limit them on what they can?
They're taking the same amount of
They
classes.
take the same amount of classes.
Yeah.
It's the same exact amount of classes. I think there's a misperception that it's less, but it's not. It's the exact same.
Either way, you're taking 8 classes a semester.
Yeah.
8 classes a year.
Mhm.
A year for each semester,
Yeah.
right?
No, for each quarter, so it would be, well, but it's, yeah, I mean,
It's still, even though with the daily schedule, it still results in the exact same number of classes and opportunities for classes, whether you're on the AB or the daily, it still is the same.
But there's no reason why a student who was planning to have get these AP classes in by the end of their schooling, by their senior year, why they couldn't get them in if they wanted to, right? Because you're saying that it would be offered at LTC if they couldn't get in here.
Yeah, we will work with them to get them what they need. And I'll let you know that we do work with the AP classes first.
I was gonna say, the whole schedule is based on
It's
AP
built
because,
around.
Okay.
you know, so there's only so many APs, but there's also only so many slots in a year. Putting together a master schedule, like I said, is a 2-month process that was put together in 2 weeks. But it's actually based, in most cases, in just talking to Susan, based off AP and then based off of our band and choir and those, because that's where our singletons exist the most. And then fill in with the math and the social studies, because there's more sections that can go from there.
That can work around those. So actually the APs are set first. And then we also take a look at who's in multiple APs, because we've got 2 kids going into next year, we'll have 4 APs. So then you're trying to balance when those are, so that way they can get those opportunities to have all those APs.
I guess I'm concerned about our music programs and declining numbers and having, a great band opportunity and choir opportunity for our students. And if they're limited in what they can take, and it's always been a struggle I've known over the years with my kids to actually get to sign up for everything we want to take. But especially if you're into music, you play an instrument or sing, and you want to do both of those, then it limits you even more.
Next year, our band numbers are at their highest they've ever been at the middle and the high school. Our band program is growing hugely.
That's good to hear.
And like I told you on the phone today, we have a large grant out there for our band. I know there was another class that's offered for band. I can tell you there's been more in the band that has been growing in the things that Susan.
And our numbers are holding steady with choir. So right now, I would say our music program overall is growing. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, any other questions? All right, so we will move on to board committee reports. Oh, and thank you for all your information, ladies. Board of Canvassers, we met, that was Sonia and Mel and me. And it's true, these 2 are on. So that's what we found out. And administrative and support staff met. And was. You have my agenda tonight. Okay, thank you. And early graduation applicants.
So I can't share names, but I just want to put kudos out to our special ed department. We had a young man come to us, 19, significantly behind in credits. And instead of finding reasons not to help this young man, our department pulled him in, helped him. Actually, we found ways to do work study with him that actually helped our campus. And he is done. He's put his hours in. He's gotten his classes done. So a special thanks to Chuck Nelson, who really did everything possible to get him done by his 21st birthday. And he's just ready. He's 20 years old, so this is just a notification. We don't have to vote on graduation anymore.
So he's going to be out before he's 21? Is that what you're saying?
Yep, he's done. So as of today, he is done. So congratulations. Just happy to see him. He floundered for the first semester here, and the last 3 semesters. It's another reason why I love what we do. You know, educators helping sometimes the students that didn't have the help in other districts and then came here, even in the 11th hour, were able to help them. So proud of everyone that helped him.
Great. All right, COVID and reentry update.
Okay, so I know we have a bunch of people waiting for this one. So just a little bit of background on this. So every month we talk about the updates, and if we go back to last month, we had a really good conversation about what the spring events were going to look like. And when we shared that last month, it was really with the caveat that every month, we're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about what these events look like and be able to share how we're doing it. So, couple things, a lot has changed in the last month. Since that last meeting, we have opened up our use of facilities. So we had a group on Sunday night that come in and use the gym. We have is it 50% participation, right?
40 for them.
40 for them. We asked to continue to use the face coverings as long as the district is requiring that. And that group is doing well. We've talked to some other groups that want to use facilities. It says as long as you follow the expectations, we can open it up. Next month, we'll look at what those expectations are. We're starting at 40%, go to 50%, and I'm hoping sometime in summer be back to 100% on everything. So this last few weeks, that has opened up. Spring event update. So first of all, as promised, Scholarship Night is going to be a hybrid from the discussion last month. One of the things we ran into is scholarship takes a lot of coordinating for the speakers to come in and be able to do that. And back in January, we knew it'd be tough to hold an event to bring the community in. So at that time, we asked all of our donors, we asked all of the different scholarship foundations to do one of two things. Either print us off something that we can write, so one of our staff members can read, or provide us with a video that we can share as a overall virtual experience. So that video is in the process yet, and getting put together. We have different staff members going to be reading off different scholarships. Have a couple of our big scholarships are going to be presenting their video, so that'll be exciting. And what we're going to do for the presentation of it is we're going to do it on May 12th, but just like every decision has its has impacts, that day of Scholarship Night, since isn't a virtual, we have a makeup band concert going on that night. So we are going to do that in the auditorium, and what we're saying is anyone invited, any of our graduates that are invited to scholarship and their parents, and we're not saying two parents, we're saying parents, because we know that different families have different compositions. So that will be, we're thinking about 5 o'clock on the 12th, where we will invite our graduates that are getting scholarships and their parents in, and then that will be followed by another socially distanced with our band. So if some of those students are in band, they'll be in that performance afterwards. Next, we have our spring play. Again, we have great performers in this district. We have kids that were taken away from, had that experience taken away from them for the last year and a half. So we bet on ourselves, saying, you know what, we're going to be able to get some sort of audience there. So our senior play is Charlie Brown,
You're a good
right?
man, Charlie Brown.
What's that?
You're a good man.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown. And they're going to do some creative things to make sure that everybody's safe. But they're doing multiple showings, and we're doing the auditorium at a 40% capacity. Graduation, right now, please weather hold out. Maybe it'll get warmer than 50 degrees one of these days, but right now, from what we're looking at, is outside and all participants. If by chance we have to take it indoors, we are looking at the gym at a 50% rate, would give us about 8, right? Was it 8?
It'd be about 8 I mean, it's 450 is our capacity in the gym at 50%. We're outside, and that's the student's first preference, so that's what we're planning on, unless weather would dictate otherwise. That would give us about a 600 capacity outside.
So we think at 600, we probably could get everyone that wants to come in. That event will be live streamed, so we will have individuals that can't be there or choosing not to be there can still see it virtually. So Lee's getting to be an expert on this, and we're getting better every month. So that way, if people still don't feel safe in the crowds, they get it for free. So that's kind of the spring event.
What's the capacity of the gym again?
450. That's at 50% capacity. Yeah.
So just, and again, we will be talking about this May 17th is our next board meeting. Any of these events that haven't happened, if we'll be reviewing it again, looking at where we're at. And some of these 40% could be 50, could be 60, could be 70. I think we've really tried to take a common sense approach of not promising things we can't do, but making sure we look at where we're at the time and then talk about what that next step in front of us are. I think as a board, you've done a fantastic job of being able to be representatives of the community, saying, hey, look at this, can we do this? And it's the way this has to be navigated. So I feel good. I think, we've stayed to our word. We're using common sense. And I can tell you, looking at the rest of the state, our seniors are getting as good of spring as anyone out there. And I forgot prom. Prom is going to be, with that we're saying no face masks. It's outside of school. If we have some sort of outbreak there, it's not going to impact AP testing. It's not going to impact graduation. It's not going to impact all those things that we're trying to keep sacred and protecting as we roll through the last 24 days of school.
What is the date of prom? Friday, June 18th. And that, we did open up no masks, parents are invited, no limits on it. That's wide open.
And that's final, that's set final.
Final, yeah.
By that time, we're out of school. We don't have to worry about anyone missing anything. That's,
there's still some sports going on,
Right.
With that, because that was the hardship of the date, because of the spring season being so compacted. We've got baseball, softball, and golf all going on, as well as track, all vying for the nights. Some nights here, we literally have 3 different activities each night, and we're trying to fit those in, as well as the tournaments on the weekends. And
kudos to the high school team. When they first announced when prom was, it actually fell on some of our seniors' graduation parties. So they went back and said, okay, this doesn't work, what's better? Found a different night that didn't hit a graduation party, and since we're out of school, seemed to work for everybody. So.
Mrs. Donahue working with the coaches, and then talking with the class officers where they selected the dates.
Okay, I generally don't take questions or comments during this time, because that's what we have public comments about, but because of the how we handled public comments tonight, Mrs. Faith has a question or clarification question, or
I just have a question on your prom and why the prom court, how you're dealing with it this year, why it's being changed out there.
And would you want me to address them?
yeah, because
Okay,
I don't know.
sure.
I can make something up, but
So, I think the idea for this was with everything going on, prom court, we had gotten some feedback that prom court can, especially for some of our students, be a kind of a traumatic time, and thought if we were to do something a little bit different, this may be a year to protect people from in a time where we were seeing an increase in just depression and mental health. Can we do something that's a little bit softer than a vote? And it seemed to make sense. It seemed to come from a very good place. And it now, looking at where our students are, seem to be something that helps our students go forward. I think it's helped our students. What I hear, how many students applied for court? 28 students have applied for court through the process. And it is a process that isn't quite done. We don't know who's going to be on and who's not, but we probably have more students that have applied for it than would be voting if we would have did it the traditional way. So that's a process that I really think came out of all the things our students are dealing with. Is there something we can help to protect them a little bit? So
28 out of how many students are there? Is it junior class that would be the prom? Yeah, would they be selected from? So how many students are in the class? That grade?
52, 53.
53, so a little more over half applied.
And So normally, like prom court selection would be all the students giving their, like normally how was it done in the past?
It was a vote.
So everybody could have voted.
But it came from the students. The students nominated, the students voted. Now the change is, the students apply, and they don't have any part in determining who's on their prom court.
Right.
So that was taken away from them. And to hear that prom can be traumatic, I can think of a lot of other things that are a lot more traumatic than that. And actually having a big change like this in a year where you really can't count on much, but maybe you could count on, you know, what prom court was going to be like. And I think the most important thing is that our kids have an event that they want to go to and they want to be involved in, and how much ownership do they have in it this year? These are my questions
Right.
and concerns about it, and that they're going to have a great event, because really you only get one junior prom. So I'm concerned about the impact of the change on them. And if we want to use, that's a really strong word to use, I think, trauma, but if we want to use that word, how are they feeling about it? And we had maybe half of the class apply to be on court. Does it seem like a lot of kids are buying tickets or even want to go to it?
I'm not sure when we sell tickets, but to have over half the class apply to be on it would tell me that they're on board. And if there's a few that aren't, I mean, honestly, this year has been a year of the decisions we make. We'll always have winners and losers. I think this came from a place of really caring for our kids. This came from people that were trying to be helpful. And, you know, really this is, you know, this process is something that a lot of schools have gone through. I mean, prom courts are diminishing for many different reasons. You know, you hear some things at the national level. I don't, knowing that we have a committee that has put prom together, has no face masks, are allowing all our parents there, we might have one of the most open proms in the state of Wisconsin. To me, and trying to protect our kids, sounds like a district I want my, you know, so I don't see an issue here, and really isn't even a board. You can get clarification, but this wouldn't be a board vote anyways. This is something that came from people that spend a lot of time working with freshman, sophomore, junior classes.
Are students, the junior class, are they on that committee to help plan it?
Yes, they are.
So we have the class officers
It's
at
the
all.
junior class officers that are working with Mrs. Donahue that are planning it. And they surveyed their students already with the theme and different things. So it's the students with Mrs. Donahue.
Can I ask, how did we come up with the date after school in June? How was that arrived at? As opposed to the traditional during the school year?
Yep, we gave the students the option that if it was held during the year at the time that they were picking the date, that if it was held during the year, there could be stipulations in place, such as mask wearing, whatever, because that's what was still in place at the time. But if we went to a summer date, we would open it up, but it was a student's choice, and they overwhelmingly wanted to go with a summer date. So then it was Mrs. Donahue working with the coaches among all the schedules, trying to pick a date that was the least conflictual. And then the first date, unbeknownst to them, would be graduation parties, you know, when parents had selected graduation parties. But when they brought that forward, Mrs. Donahue went back to the coaches again, and that's where they came up with that other date.
Thanks for the explanation.
So we were trying to open it up. I meet with the big youth principals each month, and there's 4 other school districts that are also holding them in June. We're the only district that's not having masks required, and we're the only district not limiting student and parent attendance.
It's good to hear.
Katie has a clarification question.
Yeah, so I appreciate the no masks and parents being allowed there, but what I'd like to point out is that the kids were not who decided that they're gonna change the way the club was selected. They have caved because they either are gonna give in and help plan for their own they didn't choose to do it, as everything I know is that the students were not surveyed about whether they wanted to change the way prom court was selected. Some of the kids have applied because they want to have a court. Some of the kids have filled out applications for other kids. Like, this is not something the kids have chosen to do. So, I mean, I realize it's not necessarily a board decision to get involved in prom court, but some parents have asked questions about this and not gotten an answer that we feel is adequate.
Thank you.
So what is the selection process for those that apply, then how is the court determined out of those that have applied?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Matt?
How is the court decided once a student has applied, like what factors are going in to determine like who would actually be on court?
So the application was actually developed by students with Mrs. Donahue, and then I took the last look at it. And so they came up with the questions that they wanted to have on the application. Even the officers had indicated that they really wanted to emphasize what what students have done for their class, community, and school. And so with that, Mrs. Donahue is going to be pulling together a committee of teachers that are going to review the applications without the students' names, so that way there's not any biases or any favoritism or anything like that. It's going to be wide open, where they're going to be looking at the responses and the activities and how they've contributed to their class, school, and community. Which I don't, when I probably looking at them, I think probably all of them contribute in some way or another. But it's first, what have you done to contribute as a part of your class? Because there are lots of times where we have our class officers that diligently give a lot of time and they don't make court. We have people that give a lot to their class and they may not make court. But it's just one of those things that we truly are, and it was the class advisor, old and current, that talked about wanting to improve this process. Because each year, they do deal with the hurt and the harm. What they see are tears at not being on. They see tears and friendships torn apart by not getting on, or who voted for who, or who made king and queen. They have, every year they talk about having girls leave in tears the night of the dance at the who's announced king and queen. So as much as it is memorable for all of us when we look back on our junior class prom, there is also a lot of hurt. And that's the one thing that they're trying to put more of an objective process on it, to start to try to lessen some of the hurt and the competitiveness, to make it about what it is, about the class, coming together to enjoy each other. And that's what we're trying to do, is just make it about the class and less about that, so that way everyone can come and enjoy themselves together.
Well, I don't think we're gonna resolve it tonight, because we don't have any say as far as the board goes.
I don't see why we don't though. Why don't we have a say when there's something that really is bothersome to the community and to families and students, you know? I don't see why we couldn't, add to talk about it and have some sort of say in it.
Well, I guess,
It's a slippery slope. We should be having a WASB meeting coming up for new board members. That would be good. I don't think you were able to attend that first year when you were on, but that might help explain things as to why you don't get into, we have to let administration do their job. We do policy. Now, if we want to create a policy about prom, I don't know that we want to go there. I mean, that's what we would have to do to get involved in it. And then we're undermining what they're doing. So we have to trust our team, and sometimes we don't like it. But we need to follow through and support them and see what happens. And if something happens that we don't like, then we can ask, hey, you guys, we gave you a chance, it didn't work out, what are you gonna do differently? Not that we're telling them they have to do something differently, but what can you do differently to make it better? But I think we have to give them some leeway to do what they think is right. Otherwise we're micromanaging them, and that's not what I'm.
Right, I don't think it would come up often, but just hot topics, things that are bothering people in the community.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
You
every
open a
little
can of
thing.
worms. So, we do have, Kim, do you know when that, WSB new board member meeting?
I will send an email out.
Okay, because that would be good for any of us to attend that, if you haven't attended in the past. Because they do go into more detail of why you don't want to do that and what
Yeah.
happens if you do. You really lose the unity of the board as well.
Right.
So,
And I understand what you're saying, Mike, about seeming to try to help the students with their mental health by making this change, but I feel like it's almost backfired and a lot of kids are, upset about it, parents are upset about it, it's like, it's more, like, it's a really tough year already, why would we add this to this year, That's my thought on it.
My counter to that would be that, as an unemotional man, that's gonna be drama regardless of how you do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be, no matter how, because you're still gonna offend some people that want to be there and are not. I understand the motivation for doing it, but I think regardless of what you do, you're gonna have the traumatic event, the emotional response. It's just part of life, and I think we get too soft, and we have to realize that sometimes things don't go your way in life, you just have to deal with it.
okay, next.
Okay, next, countywide vaccination update. I just wanted to let you know we had a good meeting with DHS last week Wednesday, and as of last week Wednesday, our county is 40% vaccinated, which I think is pretty good. Knowing that in general, I'm hearing about 20% of the population is not looking at getting vaccination. The district would never get into anything. I know we hear a lot about passports and all that other stuff. No, we're at, if you want to get vaccinated, great. We do have some people, especially being on this part of the county, we have told DHS if they want to do a near site clinic and offer it to our community, we would be willing to help with our health nurse assistant, with our nurse, with some staff. So we are looking at maybe doing a regional one with Oostburg, Cedar Grove, and us, so people that have transportation issues could get us. So, and then that kind of leads us into the face mask. And I know some of the questions here on what is our plan for face masks. And really one of the things from our discussion last month that really highlighted to me the other side of this. So I know we had, I think the conversation, let's be trailblazers and get rid of face masks and a lot of those other things. I got numerous emails from the silent minority of saying thank you for keeping face masks. Our family has X, our family has Y. We have these other things, and we would be forced to pull our children if we had to switch to optional face masks right now. And this is the line we've been walking all year. And really, I mean, as we look at long-range goals, my goal is once the county hits that 75-ish, 80%, to me, everyone that wants a vaccine has one. So we're done with these things. I'll be the first one to throw the burning party because honestly, they're not fun. But I would say there's a reason we haven't had any spread into school. It's because we've done mitigation strategies. I think for every research and project out there that says that every research that says face masks don't work, I can find one that says they do. I think history will be the only ones that will tell us exactly what we did right and what we did wrong in this, and they'll tell us that in about 5 years. But as I look at face masks, one of the things that going forward is we have 24 days of school. We know in the next 24 days of school, we have more students that wouldn't be able to be part of the school than if we make face masks optional, it'll mean they aren't going to be used. We know how peer pressure works, we know how those other things, and our students have been fantastic. I think our staff has been above par on finding times when we need to wear face masks, when we get face mask breaks. I see less issue about face masks in the doors here than I do outside. And going forward, my belief is that we keep face masks. Once we get to a point that we say we have herd immunity, that we have a large group of vaccination clinics where people aren't showing up for vaccines anymore, we can say we're ready. I'm hoping by summer school, we don't need face masks anymore. So my recommendation is the next 24 days we keep face masks. Keep them for those families that haven't gotten their vaccine yet, if they want it. And by the time we get done with the school year, we aren't worried about them for next year. I know.
As most of us sit here without a mask.
I know.
If I can make a comment about this.
Sure, go.
I completely understand and I respect what you're saying, Mike. But from the perspective where I sit, I'm a complete hypocrite if I don't vote that it's time that we make masks optional. Just because that's how I live my life. And I get that from a lot of the people in this community that I might be subjective, but that I deal with, that are done with the face masks. If by all means, if somebody wants to wear them, I strongly encourage them to do that. But again, from my perspective, I would be a hypocrite to sit here and say we should continue. I totally understand what you're saying. I respect what you're saying, but I believe it's time for them to have it and be optional.
And I guess I would ask you, what is your job as a board member? Of course, represent, but also part of my job is representing people that can't be here to be represented.
Certainly.
And when I make this decision, I don't make this out of my own beliefs. My own beliefs are very different than what my recommendations are. And when it gets to this, it's about making sure that we have as many students that have access. Your beliefs are not the same beliefs of everybody in this organization, the people that work in the organization, the students that come to it. So I can tell you with all those things, that's where this is, and yeah. So that's my response to that.
And I would say that I elected here to represent a certain amount of the people, and the sense I get is that they're done, or they're ready to move on. Now, is that the majority of the people in the community? I don't know. I don't have those facts. I can't tell you that. I can just tell you that's a sense of people talking to me what I get. So, I'm breaking ranks.
How much more time do you have to do all this contact tracing?
Until, I mean, we could be contact tracing through next year.
So why? If people have, I mean, I know it's probably a state rule or whatever, but you know, that's the problem I have. I'd like to see masks be totally optional, but then the second one kid on a baseball or track or play or whatever, you know, group gets it, then everything's going to be shut down for them. And why? Everybody who had access to vaccines at, you know, the age level that is going to get sick or very sick has had it already, had their vaccine. So I don't, you know, that's where it's like, if it's going to be this double-edged sword where these people are going to constantly be checking, well, who did you have contact with today? Who did you have contact? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long is that going to go on? We don't know. It's all state-driven.
Once you've been vaccinated, and I mean, once you've been vaccinated, which we know no one under the age of 16 has been vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine anymore. So if Gina she ends up being positive, I've been vaccinated, I don't have to quarantine. But when we're talking about students, we know they haven't, so if we have a positive student, which is happening more at the younger ages, I would agree, our students aren't gonna have serious consequences from it, but we still have to follow the quarantine procedure. So if you come and you have a 16-year-old sit next to an 18-year-old, that student's not going to graduation because they're gonna be out for the next 14 days. So, you know, we have our desks 3 feet apart. We're keeping people separated. We're doing all those things that we need to. You know, one of the reasons we were a little more fast and loose with prom is because we got away from all these sacred events. So, you know, it's hard for me to say these are sacred, but knowing that we're willing to, in the last less than, less than 5 weeks, they're not gonna put that at risk. That doesn't make sense to me.
Do we have any, someone mentioned it, insurance liability on any of that? Is there anything that?
So CIC, which is our insurance carrier, sent an email 2 weeks ago that said that, just so we are aware, that they not only recommend, they're requiring that if your local health department is recommending face coverings, that you follow that for any kind of reason. If there's anything that would come of it, they will not cover us if there's a spread in face mask use. So, and I think I did share that with some board members. That was unsolicited. That was coming from, now we know, coming from a bunch of lawyers. So I mean, good, bad, or otherwise, they're always, insurance companies are going to mitigate their risks. But they've already have in writing that any kind of repercussions that would come from a no mask mandate would be 100% on the taxpayer's dollar.
So how does that work when the majority of masks that are being worn aren't effective or being worn properly? I understand it's a recommendation, but I guarantee any mask in here wouldn't meet N95 specifications. So I get, it helps, with people aspirating, coughing, or sneezing, that type of thing. But still, they're not totally effective if they're worn. So how is our liability greater in that instance?
I guess right now it would be because we don't have a single case of spread on the school that we can say came here from I think we have one that's a sporting event, and that sporting event was actually 2 athletes that were hanging out outside of the school setting without face masks. Outside of that event, we don't have a documented spread with face masks. So with that as our last 14-month history, to have documented spread that actually went to something that was bad would put us right in the bullseye, I would argue. And I'm no researcher when it comes to that.
So are you saying that at the end of this school year, you'd be okay with going on a trip?
Yes.
Before summer school?
I think if we can get to me, there's a lot of people. Well, first of all, this May is the most important time for our seniors. To do anything that puts it at risk, there has been a lot of time. Think of how much time that the adults in here have talked about things like graduation, like prom, like scholarship night. I mean, we're spending hundreds of hours on this, and then in the last 24 days, they're going to say, well, this isn't important, and who can make it, can make it. So it's the next 24 days are probably the most important. And knowing what our poor seniors had to deal with last year, put any of that at risk doesn't make sense to me either, because we're putting the road right in front of everybody and trying to make this as normal as possible. You can see how we've walked this back every month. We want to continue to walk this back. So this isn't an endless road. This is get us to graduation. And I'd be happy to say, the day after graduation, we can have a burning party. I can live with that.
We say graduation, isn't there a week of school?
Yeah, there's a week after. So actually let's say graduation a week after. Thank you. Well, once everybody's done with school, we're good. Because we don't want to miss finals, that would. And
May 29th.
May 29th, yeah. I know that's what Oostburg has done. They got through the school year. I know Cedar Grove is having a board meeting this week. And this is weighing on every board across the state. And I know you guys have been getting hit. We've all been getting hit on this. This has been a tough year for leadership, and I appreciate every one of your feedback with this. We're not voting on it. This is a discussion. This is something that we wanted to make sure that we kind of aired our grievances out in public, good, bad, or otherwise, and have these discussions, and I think we're stronger because of it.
So I'm going to guess all of us we're not down with them. But, because most of us haven't worn them all year. I'm talking
Did you
about the
say
board.
we're not down with
I think
Right.
most
Yes.
people in general are done with it. see out in the community.
Right. So, I feel like you do, a hypocrite, because now if I go to an event, I'll wear one here at school, but if I'm coming in here, I don't. Or if the kids are here, then I wear it, just because it makes no sense, but I try it somewhat. And then I see what you're saying too, we don't wanna blow this up, if we still have to do this contact tracing and tell people they gotta go home and can't come, that seems really ridiculous to, potentially mess up the seniors, especially in the last few weeks. So can we get a date? Can we be like, yeah, on May 29th, we're not gonna have it for summer school?
I'm looking at a date right now. Last day of school
And can
is
we live with that? Are we gonna be like, whatever?
June 1st, last day is May 31st, then June 1st, because summer school doesn't start till the second week of June. And, with summer school, we're gonna try to do some things outside. We would still have some of those quarantine issues if anything happened there, but we have a lot more flexibility when we get to summer school.
Well, those little kids are touching each other and wrestling anyway.
Exactly.
That's
As
right.
they should be.
Exactly.
They're doing it at soccer every Wednesday
I
night,
know.
the littles are, so.
We could have a whole thing of things that don't make sense, and I
Right.
can lead the
So-
way with that, I get it. I just, you know what, it's about, there's a couple things, and sometimes, when we make a decision like this, understand that there's so many, like, micro decision reasons why to try to convey all those things. It's about the events that we know are sacred that we wanna do. It's about those 20 families that, will be telling their child, you can't go to school for the rest of the year because of this. It's because it hasn't been an issue. Our kids are fantastic and our staff are making it not an issue, there's a lot of reasons to do it. I understand the reasons to get rid of it, but they aren't as overwhelming as all the things that are allowing us to keep doing what we really wanna do, and that's educate kids.
Well, I say again, I think you articulate a position very well. I really do. I commend you for that. I think you're doing an outstanding job here. But I just felt it's important that I represent at least part of the community that says enough is enough. So,
Can you tell them June 1st, enough is enough?
and I think that would go a long way with a lot of people if they know there is an end date. We know it's done at this point, and we don't change that.
But
My sense is that would go well with people.
But is it done if you're, the kids come back to summer school, as I know my kids are, they come back to summer school and one kid has it and they were in the same classroom, is there still the state is still doing all this contact tracing, right? And can we say, well, we don't wanna keep track of that anymore? Is that something you can do, or?
I don't think we have a right to say we're not doing that anymore. That's something that we're going to have to continue. I can tell you that our numbers have gone way down. I think if you had to do, if you really could get into it, I think you're gonna find out 5 years from now that we're probably at herd immunity right now. That's why our numbers are down. Most people got this and didn't know this had a name when they got it. I can go down all those kind of the things that make a lot more sense than what we're being told. But I'm also no one trying to, there's a lot of sciences on both sides and trying to stay down that middle. If we have somebody that pops positive, we're gonna have to do the quarantine piece.
Is the health department still involved with the contact tracing?
Yeah, well, they pulled out real quick. They are still involved by telling us what to do, but we've really taken the reins since maybe the third week of September, and then after that they were so overwhelmed it was all us on our own.
Okay, any more on that? We're shooting for the June 1st. That's what we're gonna tell people, and that's what we're gonna do.
I'm happy to make one of the recommendations add to this, that June 1st is a face mask are optional. with the caveat, if there's an outbreak, we take a short bit, but summer school, there will be no outbreak. I don't think there'll be any big outbreaks, and I think I'm good with that.
Students aren't wearing them for sports anymore, are they? And they're not required
It
outside.
depends, like baseball, in the dugout, they need to wear it, but on the field, they're not.
That just
That's how I
There's
wear
no
my
common
five.
sense, so it's-
baffles me. That baffles me. I get it.
Okay,
All right.
my favorite one, I just gotta say this one, my favorite one in wrestling is you can wrestle a whole meet, but at the end, you don't shake hands, you have to wave at each other. So,
And you're in that
yes, I know.
All right, we're not gonna go back down that rabbit hole.
Okay,
June 1st.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
great, thank you. Administrative vacation days payout, because of the pandemic, we had some of our administrative, is it support staff or
no, administrators, yep.
just three administrators not be able to take their time, and it doesn't roll over generally, so we would like to pay them out. Did I
One
get the
week-
gist of that?
Yeah, so we would go back to, it wasn't bonus pay, but when we had our overload pay
Right,
for the staff, one of the things we said were, that wasn't for administrators,
Administrators, right.
because we knew, this summer, our team here, along with other staff, we worked every week putting together professional development, virtual professional development to get ready for this year. So really vacation wasn't on anyone's mind, it was September 1. And one of the thank yous, since it wasn't the overload pay, would be, instead of losing this to buy it out, this would be, we have vacation buyout in our contract, this would be a week more, but this is a one-time thing that we would just do because of this, and it would be non-reoccurring after this. We have to use a vacation. I can tell you, after June 1st, I'm gonna burn this, and I'm gonna find 2 weeks to not think about this stuff either, so.
all right, is there a motion to approve?
A motion approved.
Chuck, is there a second? Chris, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Notification of, we have coaches on here and assistant coaches. Looks like everybody is somebody we know.
Yep.
Helped out before, so that's great to see.
Just, I want to do a little piece, because this will get into my updates too. Really glad to see how our high school track coaches are now bringing in the middle school. One of the things, one of our goals of this community rec department piece is to get the middle school and high school programs working together, and this is one way to do it. So thank you to I know Adrian's doing a little bit of the middle school, helping with the high school, and Zach. So just highlight of how we're trying to get better that way.
Great. And then we have volunteer coaches for girls soccer. And then we'll go into staff resignations. We have a few on here.
Yeah, so if you remember back in November, maybe it was January, we had a retirement memorandum of understanding. And one of the things, we're going into a biennium, into a budget that we have no idea what our budget's gonna be next year. Patty gets to help us project a budget when we're spending money we don't know that we're gonna have till June. Our legislators are hopeful at the end of June. So we have to go in with staffing, with what we're going to do, and kind of figure out what we're gonna do before we get there. So with this year, one of the things we did was a memorandum of understanding for staff members that are of retirement age, that would get a percentage of their sick days paid back to them as a thank you for being here for our kids. So the individuals you see here are all teachers that have been with the district. The three are retirement. Each one of them are taking it, and honestly, every one of them had said thank you to the board for this. It came at a right time in their life. All of them had numerous days. None of them took the 10 days this year, which was one of the caveats that you had to. So we thank every one of them for being here in front of our kids all the days. And really what we're paying out is a percentage of what they didn't use in sub pay. So I think it was really great. And Alicia, congratulations, she's gonna be the new building principal at Cleveland Elementary School, which every time we have somebody leave here and take a leadership role higher, just as I think is a compliment to what we're doing here in Brandon Lake.
So is there a motion to approve the retirement and the resignations, with thanks for, I mean, look at all those years. Many thanks. Amy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Matt, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And similarly, we have support staff resignations and retirements.
So we have 2 retirements of 2 names that have been in this district for many, many years. Again, thank you. It was a great way to say thank you. I mean, I think to go into next year with flexibility and with not knowing the budget where we're at gives us, it's great for our organization. And being able to say thank you to some of the people that have been around here the longest working with our kids is fantastic. So thank you to both Kathy and Janet for all their years. And Nicole and Lisa, not around as much, our paraprofessionals and working with our kids, just have some other things in life that they're doing. So.
Is there a motion to approve with thanks?
Gina, no motion.
Oh,
This is
the
not
motion.
the
We're just not-
Oh, that's right.
we're just making them, 'cause
Thank
we
you.
don't,
Yep, for
vote on hiring them, right?
Yep,
We don't
the
vote
certified
on-
you do, but not for these you don't have to because
Right.
they're, yep. so
Okay.
good. Thank you, Kim.
Look at that. Good job, Kim. Keep an eye on it. All right, informational items.
Okay, real quick, retreat dates. Now that we have our new officers, I'll be looking at, I'm kind of looking at that second week of May, either the 10th, 11th, or 12th to do a retreat date. I want you to look at your calendars. I can throw do a poll out there and see where we can get a couple hours to just talk about all the things that happened this year, and more importantly, what do we want to do next year? You know, how do we go from there? So
We know what we don't want to do next year.
yeah, exactly. And we're getting rid of one of those June 1st.
Well, probably not the 12th. That's
Not the
band
12th?
Concert and the scholarship.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, yes. Thank you. So
I'm
10th
out
of
of town all through those days.
You're out. Okay.
You could call it.
Oh, yeah.
We want everybody here. So I'll find us some other dates. I'll throw some other
I think
dates.
we have Brian out on one of those too. Is he out on the 12th for that Green Bay thing
Oh, yeah.
this season?
Okay. It is a big day, so that was a horrible day to pick. We'll
Yeah.
find another one.
Okay,
So.
well, send us a
May-
doodle thing.
Yeah, I will. You know, just the legislative updates. One of the things, you know, we're very fortunate, you know, having Devin Lemmyhue, you know, and we get to talk to him on a monthly basis. We've been fortunate. The districts in this area have been in school a vast majority of the days, but that hasn't been true for most students because a lot of the bigger districts haven't been around. So they've done a really nice job of saying, hey, you know, as these different stimulus and ESSER funds come out, what about the schools that have been here? The cost is in buying all these things. So I've really been pleased with how they are really standing up for what we're doing in Sheboygan County for our districts, and I thank them for that. We'll kind of keep going forward with all those pieces. Next, Alumni Foundation. Big kudos. Our foundation has taken a big step. They have partnered with Alumni Nation and are currently just doing such a fantastic job of getting all of our graduates from 1955 to present day. We're going to put together a comprehensive database. We're going to have some different search ways to do this. We have some of our locals that are like going to the chairs of the 1955 graduating class and getting their contact information. So I really think this is really cool. It's going to be the RAM Alumni Nation, and they're going to find ways to just keep our alumni even more engaged. So I'm really excited about the foundation. Anything you want to add with that? I think
No,
it's been fun.
it's fun. I think Rita's the one out getting 1955.
Yeah, she is. She's doing. I mean, every couple days I see.
She's
Here's
sending
these
a new
classes.
list,
Here's
yeah.
these classes. So it's been great. I just wanted to, because before our next board meeting, we will be doing the interview for that community recreation position. One of the things I just want to say, this position was actually a result from our last board retreat where you said, let's do something that is a little outside of the box, that will help our activities, that will help kids gain access to our sports and other activities. I'm really excited about the people that have applied. We have 3 individuals that all have state rings in their sports. So we have some serious coaches that have some really serious backgrounds that will be running our activities department in Random Lake. I can't share more, but I'll tell you right now, feel really, really fortunate about that. And by our next board meeting, we could have a name for you. So we'll see how that process goes. And then lastly, one of the things we're really doing is there is part of this, as this new person comes on, there's a commitment where sports aren't, coaches aren't just here for their season anymore. We need to work collaboratively. We have some sports that get it. Wrestling gets it. Softball gets it. Baseball gets it. There's other sports that are doing some really good things. But one of the things we're saying to some of our other sports is, as a board, we've always held the right to post jobs at any time. And if we think there's a place where we could get a competitive advantage by reposting the job, we will. So you are going to see some jobs that all the jobs are going to be reposted, but some of them are actually we'll be opening some interview spots. So kind of stay open. We're doing some things that as this new person comes on, they get to start choosing who their coaches are and making sure that we have the best people for our kids. So that's been kind of my goal number one, besides navigate this thing called COVID, find ways to give us that advantage in the activities. And as we come into the summer, I'm really excited about where we're at.
Great, sounds exciting. Can't wait. Next, we have closed session. The board will go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 19, Section 1985(1)(c) to discuss personnel and staffing matters. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I so motion.
Chuck, is there a second? Rainey, this requires a roll call vote. Chuck?
Yes.
Amy? Yes. Rainey?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
I vote yes. We're in closed session. Thank you, everyone, for coming out
Thank you.
tonight.